Hi, how are you today, Melissa?
I'm great. How are you, Jennifer?
I'm doing well, thanks. Welcome everybody to our Coaches Corner today. I'm so excited to be chatting with Melissa King, the Student Success Manager here at Primal. We're going to have a really great conversation today about her practice. We've got so much to talk about. Melissa is a Master Primal Health Coach, an ACE certified personal trainer, the founder of Wellness Abundance Coaching, and you have built a thriving business helping women in their 40s and beyond lose weight and manage anxiety effortlessly. I love that so much. That's me, women in 40s and beyond. So super excited to learn about your coaching business. We're going to talk about the journey of slowly building your coaching business through nurturing relationships, which I think is amazing, learning the art of patience and gaining confidence in our coaching skills. You've got over a decade of experience in customer service, a passion for health and fitness. And so we're really excited to kind of dive in and talk about the insights that you can provide for creating a sustainable coaching practice and empowering your clients, our clients, with clarity, flexibility, empowerment. I love that so much. So super excited to talk to you, Melissa. Tell us about your practice. Tell us about you and how you got into this role and where wellness abundance coaching began.
Okay, so I guess it kind of starts back in high school when I was actually invited. I like to say I got the golden ticket to join a women's strength training class, I guess, in high school rather than doing the traditional PE class. A girlfriend of mine who played softball, the softball coach coached the women's weight training class. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want in on that. So she got me the golden ticket. And I just all of a sudden became like fascinated with like strength training, especially for women. And it was really honestly just such an incredibly powerful experience for me to be with women and to be like supported by women, and we were all getting strong together and just learning how to lift weights properly. And yeah, and it was just that was really kind of where I mean, I was always active as a kid. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so we played outside. We didn't have the screens, we didn't have iPads, we didn't have smartphones, we didn't even have like a Nintendo Entertainment System for years, or even like cable TV. My dad was like, no, you guys are going outside to play, which, looking back, I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, so then kind of fast forward, I just had my own health journey when I was in my 20s and just going through college, went through like a really bad breakup and then just kind of got really depressed and kind of developed a lot of this anxiety. And it was that was in my 20s. I gained a bunch of weight, and then in my late 20s kind of started to lose it. And then when I was 31, when I was 12 years ago, I met my husband, and he told me all about like the paleo primal diet. And I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, and he's like, well, I had bacon and eggs for dinner, and I cooked the eggs in the bacon grease and poured the bacon grease on the eggs. And I was like, weird, why would you do that? And then sure enough, is more about like, okay, eat whole foods, eliminate the processed foods, and so on and so forth. And so then I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then as I was really kind of just really making some changes to what I was eating, I didn't eat terrible at this time. I was eating pretty healthy for the most part. But once I really got rid of the processed foods I was eating, I began to lose weight. And then I just felt better, like mentally, like my mental health improved overall. And I was like, wow, this is powerful. And I was in a career that was beginning to really lose interest in, which, we hear this all the time at Primal Health Coach Institute. Some students who enroll, like they love their career and they just want to do this part-time on the side and help people or help themselves. And then there's a lot of other people who either want to do it in retirement
Mm.
or they just want to switch careers altogether, which is great. That's where I was. So I can totally relate to that. And then, yeah. And I was like, gosh, what if I didn't even know what a health coach was at this. I didn't even know a health coach existed. And this was, 2012, 2013. And I was like, maybe I'll just get my personal training certification. But then I put that on hold. And then I got the email from Mark Sisson about the Primal Blueprint Expert certification back in
Mm.
2014. So this was 10 years ago.
Nice.
And I was like, add to cart, buy, here's my credit card number, I'm in. Like, I don't really know exactly what this is, but I know that I'm going to learn a lot more about what I've already read from Mark's books and the blog. And this is a good shift in my career. This is just a starting point. I'm just going to start here and then see what happens. And then, and then fast forward, I completed the program. And at this time, so took me a while to complete it, which, life happens. And
Life happens.
yeah. And so, and then once I completed the course, at the time I was working at a local company with my husband, who was at the time teaching teaching a boot camp. So the company he works for, they have nothing to, like, their business has nothing to do with health and fitness. They just have this corporate wellness program.
Uh-huh.
And so when I came on board there, he's like, why don't you help me with lead the boot camp classes? I was like, that sounds right up my alley. Okay, done. And that right there really helped me get my foot in the door with health coaching, because I had already built that relationship with the people in the boot camp class, and we focused mostly on fitness in that. So I really worked on like just building their trust. And then not long after I actually completed the certification, I actually had one of our fitness or boot campers come up to me, and he said, this young guy, early 20s, said, okay, I've lost a bunch of weight with the boot camp classes, but I don't know how to eat. He was a bachelor, lived at home with his dad. His dad cooked for him all the time, but he's like, eventually I'm going to want to move out, get on my own. I don't know how to cook. And I was like, oh, well, I can help you with that. So then it kind of triggered an idea to, just really get my health coaching business started. And as I was going through the course, I was always thinking of ideas. Oh, I could do this. I could do group coaching. I could do workshops. I could do cooking classes. I could do pantry purges, all these
Yeah.
ideas started
So
just,
many ideas. I love it.
yeah. And then, and back then it wasn't called Wellness Abundance Coaching. I just changed the name a couple years ago, but the name doesn't really, honestly, for those of you out there, the name doesn't really make a huge difference. Just get out there and start coaching people and start getting experience. And then I just held my first like workshop, kind of like group coaching, and I had a dozen people come. So that was my official launch of my health coaching business. And I just shared what I knew, what I learned in the course, and gave them practical tips. And then so kind of rewinding a little bit, then right before that, I think it was when my first client had come to me after boot camp one night and just said, I need some help. Can you help me? So then I was like, all right, well, I'll just create a coaching program, and I'll just create it as I'm working with him.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so that was pretty much, it just started from there.
Okay, so I've been taking some notes, and I have a few things I'd like to circle back on and touch on. One is that you mentioned a career change. It's so interesting. And the first thing I thought of, we find that food, exercise, movement, all of that, where, you're dialing it in, you're dialing it in, you're dialing it in. And then you mentioned, but I wasn't happy in my career and wanting to kind of switch. And then you brought in how that's pretty common with people that you talk to who are interested in coaching. I find it so fascinating that we can put all the pieces of the puzzle together, most of them that we think, but then there's that kind of one missing piece, and how interesting it is that you really probably can't find optimal health until that last piece of the puzzle is in place. And for those people who are working in an environment that's not supportive of their health, that could be a really big piece that's kind of holding back. Do you find that a lot of people come into coaching and need that big career change in order to take that next step in their health?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. So yeah, I mean, it could be anything. I talked to a woman a couple months ago, and she's like, I like my job. I'm happy, but I don't really see myself moving up and getting
Mm-hmm.
promoted.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm not getting paid what I'm worth. So it wasn't, and it was like that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
We all deserve to get paid, you know, what we're worth, and that's one of the great things about having your own coaching business is you could, set your rates to what you want it to be. And
Yeah.
another thing is that I hear a lot with the career change is that sometimes, yes, occasionally it's like, I work in a very negative environment, and
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not good for my mental health or my physical health. But also someone who's just burnt out from what they're doing. I worked in insurance for 12, 13 years. And I was like, if I have to write another insurance policy or submit another claim or give a client another quote, I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I think that
I'm
we forget
going
how
to,
big of a deal that is.
yeah, I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind. And it was it was a very stressful job too.
Mm-hmm.
In insurance. I can't imagine being in it right now these days. But yeah, that was the other thing is like, this is fun for me. It's not always
Yeah.
easy to be a health coach. It's not always easy to build a business. There's things that you have to do to really stretch your comfort zone if you want to, be successful. But it definitely the pros outweigh the cons for sure.
Nice. I want to dig into that a little bit more too. And I want to mention in the chat, looks like we've got people from all over joining, which I love. Hello, David and Beth and Lysiana. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Barbara and Carrie and Tony and Annalie, thank you guys so much for being here. Lysiana, excellent. So I love that you said, Lysiana, that's such an amazing insight. This is the current state of affairs in my life. Career is impacting my health. Yes, I think that's a really important point to notice, to take note of in your own health journey, and then when working with clients, right? Just sometimes we find that we're doing everything right. Their clients are checking the boxes, like yes, 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 doing all the right things, doing all the right things. And I feel like that's one thing that can be addressed as something that may be holding us back from optimal health, and may not even realize it. Awesome. So Beth is asking, how about telling us the things that stretched you? That's such an interesting question. I'm assuming that means kind of like stretching you out of your comfort zone, getting you out of that kind of yeah, our comfort zone that we all love. I love being in sometimes. Yes. Awesome. So yeah, talk about what things that stretched you and pushed you out of your comfort zone when growing your business.
Yeah. So the first big stretch I had was taking money from people,
Mm.
especially my friends, because my first coaching clients were my friends. So I had to overcome a lot of imposter syndrome when it came to just accepting money. Like I remember one time too with my first client, we ended up working together, not just from a health coaching and food and nutrition perspective and lifestyle, but from a training perspective too. And I remember when I increased my rates, I was so nervous to tell him because I'm like, this guy's my friend. He was my first client. What's he going to think? I'm still new to this. Like all these things were like going through my head. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I just did it. And I told him, because he had ran out of the sessions that he had currently paid for. So he wanted to invest in another package. I said, all right. I just said, hey, great. Okay. Well, I've increased my rates. Okay, great. What are they now? And I spit out the number, and he's like, yeah, no problem. I really like working with you. So that's no problem at all. And I was like, I don't know if he said those exact words, but that was his reaction. Like, okay. And I was like,
How did that shift your mindset in your confidence level and your ability to then move forward with more confidence about your rates?
yeah, it really helped open my eyes to the fact that the people who you are meant to work with will pay
Mm.
you what you're worth, and will pay your rates no matter what. Like, and I've even had other clients after that who were like, ooh, your rates are a little high, but can we work out a payment plan? And I know not a lot of coaches do that, but I will do that on occasion. And but she was so adamant about working with me, and her husband was so incredibly supportive of her working with me, that he was like, just don't worry about it. We'll figure out how to pay for it. And I was like, this is what I need to focus my energy on. The people who are willing to pay for it, who actually see the value in it. And that's the thing, is I feel like as our job as health coaches, it's part of our job is to like show our clients and potential clients like what the value is in working with us through testimonials, word of mouth, or just really diving into their why, having that
Yeah.
and getting really good at the discovery call too. And
Oh, we could talk about that. Oh, I like that topic.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then just also being abundantly neutral was something that I learned from that experience as well. So after I increased my rates that first time years ago with my first client, afterwards, I just thought, well, I'm just going to share my new rates. And if someone wants to enroll in my program, great. And if they don't, that's great too. It's just not meant to be at this time. And that's okay. It's nothing against me personally. It's their reasons and not mine.
Okay, I'd love to dig into how you found that confidence. But Barbara has a great question. As a certified life coach and parent coach, I know that without a consistent, healthy food plan, it is hard for my clients to truly make behavior changes. I'm wondering what length of time is expected to complete this coaching program as a health and nutrition coach. I think this is where success for my clients begin, food. I love that. I love that you're bringing Barbara together again, all the pieces of the puzzle. We know that food is a piece of the puzzle. We know that obviously you've been doing a lot of different types of coaching, and now you're wanting to bring food and diet into your coaching repertoire. So yeah, Melissa, what are your thoughts on how much time is expected to be able to finish and complete and be ready to coach?
Yeah. So my perspective on this is, so it sounds like you already have coaching skills, right? So, you already know how to coach, which is amazing. That's sometimes where students who enroll in our program, they're already familiar with the brand, with Mark Sisson, and with a lot of the health and nutrition aspect of it. It's just the coaching part. So you're kind of coming into it the opposite.
Mhm.
So honestly, so it takes about, if you tackle one chapter a week with our program, you will get through it in 6 months. And you have a full 12 months to complete the course. Which is way more than enough time to complete it. But honestly, even in the health and nutrition pillar, we sprinkle in some coaching tips in each chapter, which is really great. And then I have students reach out to me in our program who aren't quite done with the first pillar. And they're like, I have someone who wants to work with me. What do I do? I don't know what to do. And I'm like, great, that's awesome. Let's celebrate that. And then let's get some action steps together for you to start working with this person. So yeah, so does that answer the question or?
Yeah, let us know, Barbara, if you have any follow-up questions, if that helps. Awesome. Beth says, is she asking how long to expect a client to make the behavior changes needed? Or put another way, what is a good length for a program? Oh, I see. Okay. So Barbara says perfect answer. So that is what she was looking for.
Okay.
And Beth is, and I like this question. Beth may be clarifying, but I would love to talk on this. This is more of a programming question for our clients, right? So how long, what is a good length for a program? Is it 12 weeks to see client success? Like, how long do you think it takes for a client to actually make sustainable behavior change when it comes to diet?
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
love-
it's a great question, and one that's there's really no straight answer for that one, honestly. In my opinion, what I found from working with clients, I have a 6-week healthy habit reset that I just launched a couple months ago, just for the people who they just need a little extra oomph and a little extra push. But my regular program, my flagship program is 12 weeks. And then I do give clients the option to re-enroll after that at a lower price if they just want to have a coaching session here and there, just a check-in session. I actually learned this from Erin Power years ago. I heard Erin say this on a webinar and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so brilliant. I love that because it is hard to tell. Sometimes after 12 weeks, my clients are like, I'm good. I feel great. I feel accomplished and I feel confident in my habits right now, just from those 12 coaching sessions. And then other clients have signed on with me later on again down the road. So it really kind of depends on the person.
Nice. So please keep those questions coming. We want to make sure that we are answering your questions. We're here to serve you. So if you have any additional questions, please do pop them in the chat and we will make sure that we get those answered for you. But in the meantime, I want to kind of go back, Melissa, to how you talked about you started with boot camp and you built that relationship with people in class. And then you had someone come to you and say, all right, now I need help with food, with diet, with cooking. Launched a kind of a group coaching class. And I love that you said you created a coaching program with your first client, alongside with your first client. And I do want to talk a little bit about the logistics of that, but I wanted to ask you, how do you recommend branching out from your inner circle to the next level, right? How do you go from, all right, all my clients are the people I know, my friends and family, and how do I actually start finding clients that are cold leads or that are people that I don't know personally?
Yeah, I would recommend honestly doing it from the beginning. So that's actually what I did. I would just talk to people wherever I went. And I also, though, I have a background in sales from being in insurance and doing some other gigs on the side. So I learned how to get really comfortable just talking to strangers, just like when they ask, oh, what do you do? Having that elevator pitch, what they call it, like describing to people what you do. And then yeah, and then what else? Yeah, so I recommend just doing it from the beginning. That way because sometimes it takes a long time to build relationships, like a long time. It could take a year, it could take 2 years, it could take 3 years. You just never really, really know when the people you speak with are going to be ready. And it's also just putting the word out there too, because you never know who that person knows. That person may not need your services, but they may know someone who could use your services. So I really think just from the beginning, just finding a way that is fun for you. It could be social media, it could be like for me, interacting with people one-on-one. I've done a couple bridal events. I'm doing a fertility event in Fertility Expo in Southern California in a couple months. So I just learned to try new things and see what works.
Nice. Carrie's asking, did you or do you work out of a gym or training facility?
I do not work out of a gym or a training facility. I do teach fitness classes for the company my husband works for. So I no longer work there full time, obviously, because I work at a PHCI full time. But I do teach fitness classes there. They got rid of them before when the pandemic started, and then just a couple years ago they wanted to bring them back. So yeah, and we honestly, like, we have a bunch of workout equipment and we just make it work in one of their warehouses.
Nice.
So it's not really an organized gym, but it works really well for us, and everyone still gets a great workout in, and we have fun.
Love it. Love it. And I love these questions coming in. Heather's asking regarding program development, is there a template to follow, or is this up to the individual coach's creativity?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's a lot of work to build a program. I'll be honest with you. So with Primal, we actually give you a 21-day and a 12-week program in the business course. So we give that to you. We give you intake forms to use. We give you a lot of resources. And one of the great things about these like templates is you could just make them your own. So, and that's something too that, I chat about with sometimes with students who are getting ready to graduate or have just graduated, how to help them, make it work for who they want to work with. And then also after you graduate from our program, we have a business resource center that has even more resources for you to build your business. So you don't even need to have a program by the time you graduate on your own. We'll give that
It's
to you.
pretty incredible. Yeah, I agree. It's pretty incredible what PHCI has created and provided as far as programming goes. And Heather, it's great because you do get that template and it is handed to you. It's a plug and play, and it's amazing because it is ready for you to start taking on clients. Like right then, you can be ready. You can go. But it also gives you that room for creativity because it is a template, and you can come in and say, okay, I'm going to change this aspect. I'm going to re-record these videos. I'm going to do these different lessons. I'm going to rearrange this. It's pretty amazing. And I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. And then also just to kind of piggyback off of that, and then Erin Power teaches our Launch Your Coaching Business program too, which is basically she'll guide you through creating your own program when you're ready to do that. It's a 6-month program, and she does weekly workshops with you. You could ask anything, you could get feedback on what you're working on.
And
So
that's huge. Building a program and building a private practice is lonely. It can be. And it can be very challenging to know who to bounce ideas off of and who to get feedback from. I know I was pulling from a million different places, and having that regularly scheduled meeting with her to bounce those ideas, to get that advice and say, I'm working on this module. What do you think of this? It's just incredible. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Barbara's asking, do you recommend having a business card?
a business card. Oh yeah, the infamous business cards now. I mean, I have them because I do some networking events. I am part of a networking group, and I do try and immerse myself in the community as well. That's another way I build relationships, is just to connect with people. And I also do events, like I have this fertility expo coming up in November, so I'll want to hand my business cards out there. I still have a lot of them, I'll be honest with you. I think I ordered 500, and I think I have over half of them still. But you don't need business cards. You really don't need business cards if that's like one of the things that's holding you back from starting. Yeah, you really need you need an intake form, which we'll give you, a way to hold a discovery call, a way for your clients to pay you, a client agreement, and that's pretty much what you need to get started, and a client.
And a client. Yeah, but you mentioned that. You mentioned, don't let the name of your business hold you back. Don't let the business card hold you back. Do you see that happening a lot with the people you talk to?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I do see it. And I got to get my logo. I got to get my website launched before I can. Actually, you don't need any of that stuff. You don't need any of that stuff. And I'm definitely more of a doer. Sometimes I do put the cart before the horse, so I do have to kind of catch myself with it sometimes. But again, I learned that from Erin and Laura. I learned that by diving into webinars like this. Before I worked for PHCI, I just, like you mentioned, Jennifer, like really just surrounding yourself with people who can give you that positive feedback and valuable feedback too is the community aspect just makes a big difference because it is lonely. You're by yourself and you probably don't have a team that you're working with yet. So yeah, definitely immersing yourself in the community to, get valuable feedback. Like, what do I actually need to get started?
Yeah, exactly. I love that. When I would first started, I was doing some events as well, and I would get a table, and I found that the best way to collect emails from my email list was to have a raffle. So I always had like a raffle of some sort of healthy something that I was giving away, or a free coaching call. And collecting emails that way was pretty effective.
Yeah, that's a great
The
way.
business card needed. Awesome. Patrick says, I love how you were able to expand and find several symbiotic relationships within the Primal Blueprint. Similarly, I feel like it's an encompassing approach with the reduction and elimination of our toxins, food, environmental movement. How many different programs do you offer, or do you include everything in one package? That's a great question.
Oh, yeah. So so my 6 week and my 12 week are both like the course material, I guess, the modules, the information in there. It's the same for both. One's just condensed to 6 weeks and the other one's spread out over 12 weeks. And the 6 week program is 30-minute coaching sessions every week. And then the 12-week is 45-minute coaching sessions every week. So yeah, I just use the same content. Honestly, I like to create videos for my program that's how I get information. I do have PDFs. They get video and text, but it's a lot of work, not just to write the program, but to film the videos and to edit them. And it took me a while to do it, but it was worth it.
Yeah, because once it's done, it is yours. It's your program. Do you find yourself tweaking it, fine tuning it, changing it at all, or has it been solidified for a while?
It's been solidified for a while. I always have an ongoing list though of things I want to add to it. It's just a matter of really prioritizing what's super important. And, one of the reasons I just revamped my program at the beginning of this year based on past client feedback.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and then my first client that I had that went through this newly revised program, she gave me some amazing feedback also. So that's another thing that has really helped me improve my program and my coaching skills as well, is to I'm constantly asking for feedback. Like, what did you think about this? I want honest feedback like this. I really like this and I didn't like this. And, if several people are telling me they didn't like something about my program, it's like, all right, maybe I should sit back and reevaluate. Maybe I don't need to implement this thing.
Yeah, I love that. That's super important. All right, David is asking, how do you market yourself?
Yeah, that's great. The marketing. This has been like my biggest challenge, my biggest hurdle to overcome. So I do a little bit of social media. I'm kind of on Instagram, and I say kind of because I'm not very consistent with posting. I'm getting better. But I did start a podcast about a year and a half ago. And so that was helpful. You know, I have a very, very small following on YouTube, but I always get so excited when I get one more subscriber. I like celebrate it and I'm like, woohoo, tell my husband, okay, we're up to 92, you know? And and then I also have an email list too. So I have some emails from the bridal events I've done over the years, and then just from people coming to my website and subscribing. And then I also collaborate with other health professionals. I just recently, well, I actually met a nurse practitioner a couple years ago at a holistic gynecologist office. And she ended up leaving that practice about 6 or 7 months ago or so, and took my card with her and called me after she left and said, I grabbed your card because I really like you, but I'm not working there. I'm opening my own med spa, and I'd like to collaborate with you and just send my clients to you. So we're still working on developing that relationship, or that kind of like how we're all the logistics behind it. And then, yeah, there's another woman who I met over the summer, at the beginning of the summer, who she and I are going to start collaborating and send each other referrals. So that's,
Yeah, I'm hearing building relationships, building relationships, building
yeah,
relationships. I love that.
yes. And doing it
Go
from the
ahead. Yeah.
beginning too, because it takes time. You know, it takes time to really get it going.
Yeah, yeah. And for anyone who may, it may not come super natural, what is your top tips for just continuing to build those relationships? Because like you mentioned before, sometimes it can take years. You might have a connection that you made, and it'll, and then one day they find your business card, or they remember and they say, oh, that's right. Or they leave a job and they find a new one. They say, I want to collaborate with you now. So I'd love to dig in deeper about building those relationships. Any tips you have for them, for anybody on that?
Mhm. Yeah, I would say definitely after you meet someone, follow up within 24 to 48 hours. That could be a phone call, it could be a text. For me, it's an email. I always send an email to someone and just say, hey, it was really nice to meet you. Um, would you like to hop on a 20-minute Zoom call and just kind of get to know each other a little bit and just see if maybe we can work together and find a collaboration. Um, and then after that, so that's my process. And then if we do feel like we jive and we kind of have the same value system, then I'll usually invite them to be on my podcast too and have a conversation with them, and then just share what they do with my community. Yeah, and then just kind of brainstorm ideas together. Like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to send each other referrals? Are there going to be, special rates? But really just continue to stay in touch with them, and just follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up.
With you sending each other referrals, what professions have you found to be the most uh, mutually beneficial for referrals in both directions?
Yeah, so for right now, I haven't really gotten into the trenches on referring for professionals. I'm still working on building those relationships from that perspective. This is still a new concept for me. So it's kind of it's a newish journey for me, but really just getting referrals from my circle of influence too. You know, just friends, even if those people don't sign up with me. It's just the fact that, someone I knew referred their friend or family member to me, is important, because you have to start somewhere. I'm always usually slow to, like, I've slowly built my business. Like it's slow, which I actually am enjoying at the time, because I have a full-time job and a husband, and I don't just want to work all the time. So does that?
Yes, I love that. And I want to hone in on that, because you said I built my business slow. And one of the things that we are talking about today that I really want to learn from you is learning the art of patience. So let's talk about the art of patience as you are growing a private practice.
Yeah, so patience has not always been a skill that I've mastered. To be perfectly honest with you, I can be a very impatient person. My mom says I get that from my dad. I've always been like this. My mom's very laid back most of the time and just kind of rolls with it most of the time. And then my dad was always like more type A and let's get this done. And so I was always like that in the beginning. I'd get very frustrated that I wasn't getting any clients. I wasn't booking any discovery calls, like nothing is happening. Oh my gosh, I'm such a failure and all this stuff. And then I learned that I realized that I don't need to go fast. I don't need to build a 6-figure business in 1 year if I don't want to. Because really, honestly, what I realized was the thought of that caused a lot of anxiety for me. And that's what was holding me back. So
Mm,
then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to have to learn how to just be more patient and learn how to just really nurture those relationships no matter how long it took.
I love that. And what really resonates with me, because I was in the same boat. And let me ask you this, I think there's a couple of schools of thought here. On the one hand, I've done both, and I don't know which is better, but on the one hand, I have heard advice that is you got to put the pressure on yourself. So I'm kind of speaking in the terms of financial income, right? So there's nothing more motivating than if you quit your job and you have to make it work, right? Then you're going to be able to, then you're highly motivated, you're going to dedicate your time to making sure that this works. However, when I did that, I felt that desperation was coming through, right? Like everything that I was doing in my marketing and my messaging was out of desperation because I needed those clients and I needed to make this work. Whereas then when I decided to go back to work and work on a private practice on the side where I was not relying on my private practice to be my source of income, I was able to cultivate that patience and that I found the joy again, but I also felt like I maybe lost a little bit of motivation to make it work because I didn't have to make it work. So what are your thoughts on either or of those situations?
Yeah, that's actually, I'm really happy you brought that up, Jennifer, because I definitely catch myself like quote unquote slacking in my business, like not being consistent with things that I said I was going to be consistent with and what I committed to myself. Because I have a full-time income. So I don't need the money for my health coaching business to survive. I don't need it. Our income, we live a very comfortable lifestyle. But yeah, I feel like really honestly, because I've done that too, where I actually got laid off from a health coaching job right before the pandemic because she decided to shut the company down.
Oh.
This was like October of 2019. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. I'm just gonna have to, you know, um, just pound the pavement and just really get this going. So I started to do that. I started booking speaking gigs. And of course, because it takes time. And I had a bunch of speaking gigs in like March and April of 2020. And we all know what happened then. They were all canceled.
Mm,
And yeah, so that was very frustrating. And then I just kind of picked myself up and thought, well, I'm just going to work with what I have and what I can during the pandemic. And then, yeah, and then it's just so interesting too, because after a while, I just got so burnt out because I was putting too much pressure on myself to build an income, a full-time 6-figure income, doing this all by myself. I mean, my husband would help out, but he also has a full-time job, so he can't help out all the time. And I was just like, losing my mind. And then it's interesting. I thought, well, if I did go back to work full time for someone else, what would I want to do? So I wrote that down, and one of the jobs I applied for was to teach fitness classes at this local gym. And I thought, well, that'd be fun. And then literally like that same week that I was like going, like interviewing with this company, like literally that same week, the CEO, one of the CEOs of the company my husband works for, reached out to me and said, "Hey, we want to bring the fitness classes back, and
Mm.
I'd like to hire you to teach them. Are you open to that?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is amazing." Like
That's
I thought, okay,
awesome.
if I go back and do like work full time, work for someone else, or even part time, I want it to be something I love doing. So two
Yep.
opportunities dropped into my lap, and I took the one, obviously, as an independent contractor teaching fitness classes. And then I think so that started in January of 2023. It's 24, yeah, 2023. And then this role opened up at Primal like a month later or so, 2 months later. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And yeah, so really just you don't put that pressure on yourself unless you can. If you have a partner, a spouse, or a lot of money saved up that you can live off of, then go for it and experiment with it and do it. But just don't put the pressure on yourself if you don't have to. Um,
Mm. I
yeah.
love that because it sounds like you were able, yeah, to really, like I said, learn the art of patience and grow your business into something that you love, that you're proud of, and that it's really exactly what you want it to be. And I think that's really good advice. Awesome. So I would love to ask you, circling way back, I wrote this down. I need to ask you about it because you said get really good at the discovery call. So what makes a good discovery call and how do you get really good at it?
Yep. Well, the first way to get really good at it is to just practice, basically, just do discovery calls. And I feel like, in my opinion, a really great discovery call, and this is something I learned in our advanced coaching expert course when I took that course when it was called the Master Coach 3 years ago, that changed my whole world, like from with my coaching skills.
Mhm.
Uh, like I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like I never really understood what really good coaching was. And part of that is it starts from the discovery call, like that first interaction, that first conversation you have, you know, with that potential client. So really, number one, just learning like what inspired you to book this call with me? What, you know, what's happening with you, that right now in your life that you feel like you want to join my program. And just really just asking questions, learning more about where they are, kind of where they want to be, what they're frustrated with in their life, with their health and wellness. And also, yeah, and then just making sure they understand that you're hearing them by just, repeating it. You don't have to say it word for word, but just kind of paraphrasing.
Mhm.
Like, okay, you're frustrated with this extra weight you put on because you're in your 40s and your hormones are out of whack, which of course it happens. And you're not quite sure what you want to do. You don't feel comfortable in your own skin. Or like another example, real life example would be, I do get women reaching out to me just saying, I just have basically let my healthy habits go. And yes, I'd like to lose weight, but to me, that's not the important. I want to get back on track with my healthy habits because, a lot of it's life events, like major life events, like deaths in the family and job changes and kids, and that
Mhm.
we just get thrown off track. So really honing in on that and really just like telling them, like sharing with them, okay, you said you want to do this. I can help you with XYZ, throughout this, and just explaining your program, really knowing what your program is. So you can explain it like almost to the T with your client. And then I always just, after I do that, I always ask them, so what do you think? What are your thoughts? and then just let them speak.
And do you have any tips or tricks for that closing of the call? Because I know that's the scariest part, I think, for many people is telling them the price and
Yep.
then having that conversation that following.
Yeah. So after you say the price, just don't say anything. Just shut your mouth. And I know this is hard for a lot of students and coaches, new coaches. It's hard to do, but just stop. And because oftentimes they need to just absorb it and just kind of think about it for a sec, let it percolate for a minute, and then so they can really create a response. I have had some people just be like, okay, all right, great. How do I get started? Like just immediately after I say my rates, like, okay, great. How do I get started? And that throws me off actually.
I bet.
When someone says, okay, great. Yeah, that's fine. What's the next step? So, and then, yeah, and then, once whatever objection they come up with, just ask, repeat it again, acknowledge it, and then, um, it really kind of depends. We could do an entire coach's corner on like objections, how to overcome
Oh
objections.
yeah.
But if someone says, oh, it's money, it's too expensive. Well, expensive to what? Expensive compared to what? And just kind of have we give this to you also in the business pillar is how to overcome objections. So
Yeah, so many resources. Awesome. Okay, Barbara says, your work as a coach to those of us who are beginning this program, do you connect with us on a regular basis? Or do you connect with, or do we connect with you when we need support? How does your coaching fit into our learning in this program? I love that you asked this, Barbara, because actually Melissa and I were talking about that right before we jumped on. So yes, please let us know, Melissa, how the touch points and the coaching and the support through the PHCI course.
yeah, so we offer you loads of support throughout the course. So we do regular webinars like this. So we do, Coach's Corner. Jennifer and Tara are amazing hosts for this. And I'm actually starting a student success webinar series starting next week. So keep an eye on your inbox if you're a student for that in the next few days. And then yeah, and so after you enroll, if you talk to Jen or Kylie in our admissions team, they'll get you all enrolled. Jen will get you all enrolled, and then you'll receive an email with an opportunity to book a call with me. And we'll hop on a 30-minute Zoom call or phone call, whatever works best for you, and just kind of get to know each other. And then I'll answer any questions that you have, from your conversation with Jen up until you and I have a chance to connect. And then I'll share how I support students on a regular basis. And then basically you just tell me how I can support you. Because sometimes I don't know. I know that some people are a little shy and don't really want to kind of hesitant to ask questions, but I embrace all questions. I invite all questions. I will tell you if it's something we can't answer. But yeah, we support you. You have my direct email, you have my direct phone number. So you could set up calls with me anytime.
And I can tell you from experience, everyone who is on the team of supporting the coaches going through the program are so passionate about what they do. It is just like unparalleled support. They really love seeing us succeed, seeing the coaches, the students succeed. It's amazing. It's awesome. And then she asked, can you give cost suggestions for starting a 6-week program at 30 minutes a week or something similar? Is there such a thing as a going rate for this kind of coaching work?
Yeah, there's a bunch of factors I feel like that go into creating your rates. Really, number one, it has to be in between what's super comfortable for you and just a bit of a stretch, because you don't want something too high where you're like, okay, I totally don't, you don't want to start with like $3,000 or something like that. But it shouldn't be super low to where you're devaluing your services and your skills and your abilities. So you really kind of have to find that little interim. And like I said, we'll walk you through that. And that's also something if I've done this with students too who are getting ready to graduate, who kind of don't know. I'm happy to be a sounding board for you to kind of talk through it and just have that conversation. Because sometimes you know exactly what rates you want to charge, but you just need kind of that permission from someone else to put them out there.
Yeah, I
So
would say, yes, you can charge, you are worth that. You can charge that
yes.
and give your permission. I like that. That's true. Yeah. Sarah says a shout out to PHC. Awesome, Sarah. Thank you. And Barbara says, I have enrolled and paid for my program and I have just begun to work in the Learning Center. How do I connect with you?
Oh, that's a great question, Robert. So you can connect with me at melissa@primalhealthcoach.com.
Awesome. Can I type that in the chat?
Yep.
There we go. Coach.com. So you can just copy that. Yeah. And obviously she's here to help. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for your time today. Do you have, I would say, final question is, do you have, what is one piece of advice that you wish you had received when you were starting out?
One piece of advice that I wish I had received when I started out. Have fun with the whole process.
That's
Everything,
awesome.
everything, the challenges, the mistakes, everything. Just have fun with it and see the mistakes as learning opportunities and a way to brainstorm ideas on how you could be better.
Awesome. 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 Thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up today?
I guess the only other thing I want to say is just encourage everyone, just go out and just take some action. Just do something. It doesn't matter what it is. Reach out to one person, send an email out. Enroll in the course. Book a call with Jen, our admissions director, if you're not enrolled already, and just talk with her. There's no pressure at all. Jen is amazing, and you never know if something's going to work until you try it.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Thank you so much for this conversation today. I had such a great time chatting with you.
Yeah, me too. This is
My
fun.
dog barking.
Oh.
Thank you for everyone who joined. Y'all had such great questions. I would love to see you on the next Coach's Corner. Keep asking those questions. Keep reaching out for support. Like I said, everyone here loves what they do and they love supporting you. So always reach out. You're so welcome. Good luck to everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Bye.